Our second spot in Savannah was at Fort McAllister State Park. And full transparency, it did not start well. The minute that we pulled onto the road that the state park was on, Brandon said that he noticed that the truck was pulling to the right. When we stopped and got out, the truck was completely flat. Apparently the previous shop that we had the new tires and stuff on did not put the valve stem back on properly, and it just popped off. This was not a great start to the day or to the trip altogether for Savannah. It ended up taking about 12 hours for us to get it fixed, but we finally did get it fixed. The park was beautiful. They had lots of stuff, but it's just so funny. We almost didn't stay because it just started out and it wasn't Skidaway, but we ended up trick-or-treating the night that we got there. On the 28th, they did the trick-or-treating at the campground, and the girls had a great time. We actually didn't end up going to get Tinley's costume because we didn't have a way to get there, but the girls had a great time in their homemade costumes, and the campground was like decorated to the nines, and lots of people had lots of things done to their campers, and the girls had a great time with the trick-or-treating. Although the park was beautiful, Brandon and I were still debating on if we wanted to go back to Skidaway because we just loved Skidaway so much, and it was only like a 45-minute drive. So we went to Walmart and bought groceries, and when we came home, we were getting everybody's dinner together, and we got a knock at the door. This knock would really just change the course of this trip. It's funny, I have to constantly remind myself about mindset, like how it's a conversation that I have with our girls too, Brandon and I do, that, don't let one bad thing determine your outlook for the day. And I know that we're all guilty of doing this, but Carlos knocked at the door, and what we thought was just going to be like a 2 or 3 minute interaction, we ended up hanging out several times throughout the week, and they are just completely amazing people, and we enjoyed getting to hear about Carlos's life growing up. And Carlos actually hooked us up with several of his friends for the interview. We actually did a little bit of editing to our trip, and we're going to go to their hometown in a few, I think about 10 or 12 days or so, and we're going to do some more interviews in their town and spend some time with them. But it's just so funny to me that, the situation, we were seriously discussing if we were going to stay at that campground, and then God put Carlos at our door, and it's potentially changed the trajectory of Brandon's podcast, and it's just really just been a blessing to us in our lives so far. And you never know who you're going to meet where you are, and it's funny that that changed the whole trajectory of our trip. We were all bummed out because we didn't love the park, and we just were really in bad moods from the tire, and they just really put us behind, and we almost left. But then that knock at the door changed the trajectory of the entire stay at this park, and we actually did end up getting out and doing some exploring. We actually only came to this park because of the fort, and that's the one thing that we did not do while we were here. It's funny how that works out. This view is amazing though, and we really truly did have a great time while we were here. Right across from this view there was a nice playground, and the kids really enjoyed playing there. This is a state park. Normally the sites are a little bit more spaced out. The sites were nice. The site that we were in was not the absolutely best site. This is a better picture of a site that was close to us, but not our site. The sites are a little bit closer than what we like, but we made it work. They had full hookup. When I say full hookup, they had water and electric, 30 and 50, so you could use whatever you want. They did not have, or at least our site did not have septic, but we made it work. We had to do some finagling to get in our site, especially with a flat tire, but on the next slide I'll show how our parking situation was. We kind of had to park in the back this time because there wasn't really enough spot for us to park in the front. since we were in Savannah, we wanted the girls to have the full River Street experience, so we actually let them dress up for Halloween, and we went to River Street. We did not trick-or-treat, but we did walk around. We went to the candy store. Everybody had a great time choosing what they wanted at the candy store. We also did a ghost tour, which you'll see towards the end. We went and sat at the river for a while, and I was just so amazed at all the amount of traffic, water traffic that they had, especially with these huge, big cargo ships. I could not imagine that they go in this tiny space. I was just bragging to Brandon how nice the weather has been since we've been here. The whole time we've been in Savannah, it's been in the 80s, the mid-80s, I think. We have not gotten any rain in the minute that we parked and got out and walked down the stairs to go to River Street. Naturally, it started raining, but by the time we finished up at the candy shop and we went in the coffee shop, and by the time we finished up with all that and did our walking ghost tour, the rain had actually stopped altogether, so that was great. It worked out perfectly. Entirely too much to choose from, so naturally the girls had a hard time making a decision on what they wanted. We did eat before coming to River Street because I knew that the food would be pricey, and I didn't think that the girls would eat any like oysters and things like that River Street is known for. So we took them to McDonald's. They've been wanting to get a boo bucket. They obviously, of course, naturally did not have the boo buckets, so that was a bummer, but the girls had a great time. They've been asking for McDonald's for several days. Since we're a family of 6, we don't often eat out on this trip. It can be quite expensive, and because we're constantly on the go, somebody's always tired, and I don't think that Blake would have made it long enough through a dinner at night, but she did great. At McDonald's, it was like a 30-minute thing, so they had a great time. They always love McDonald's. These last few pictures and videos are actually from when we were doing the walking ghost tour, and we learned lots of stuff. I did not know that Savannah, pretty much everywhere that you walk downtown, you're essentially walking on top of a grave. So we learned lots of different things, and we had a great time, and I'm most definitely sure that we will definitely come back to either Fort McAllister or Skidaway and spend another trip when we can have more time and when we're not on such a time crunch. Out of the 2 parks in and around Savannah, the state parks, were Skidaway Island and Fort McAllister. I 1,000% say that Skidaway Island is obviously the nicer park, and it's closer to downtown Savannah and things like that, but because the fort, we were attracted to like the fort aspect of Fort McAllister, and I 1,000% do not regret coming here at all because it allowed us to meet Carlos and Sandy, and we ended up having a great time. But of the 2 parks, I would recommend staying at Skidaway. Now on to St. Augustine. Thank y'all so much for watching, and again, we just always appreciate your continued support.